We're going to talk about creating the rhythm for a melodic phrase. That's what we want to do. But in order to do that, we've got to talk a little bit about melodic phrases. So, in most music, particularly Western music, melodies are made up of distinct phrases, just the way our language is made up of distinct phrases. And by breaking it up into small chunks, it helps it become more easily understandable for the listener. People who have looked at music over the years realize that often there are two types of melodic structures that occur over and over again. And these are based on the idea of repeating a small, distinctive musical idea, which we've called a motive. So a motive is a small, bite-sized bit of music, often 2 bars long, 1 bar long, which we use as the seed to create the rest of the piece. We create this by repeating it in a bunch of different ways. Both of these phrase structures fit a pattern that states the motive, then repeats it in some way, and then creates some sort of distinct ending, often based on the motive. When we're talking about repeating the motive, there are lots and lots of different ways in which we can repeat the motive, so it wouldn't be a literal repetition, but it could be. There are lots of techniques that are regularly taught about the different ways of doing varied repetition. One of the types of structure based on repeating a motive is called a period construction, and this is very common. It has a question and answer sort of structure. It's got 2 parts, the question, then the answer. And of course, music theory guys don't want to be so simple. They call it the antecedent and the consequent. Each part begins with the motive. So we have the antecedent, the question, we have the motive, then something else, which we refer to as the contrast, because it's not a repetition. Then the answer, or consequent, repeats the motive again in some way, and then concludes with a kind of a cadence. This cadence could be based on the motive, or it could be kind of based on the contrast. It all depends. So this is a very common structure. The other structure, which is a bit less well known, but is still quite common in the musical literature, is called the sentence construction. And this starts as a motive, then repeats the motive again, could be a varied repetition. Then it has a thing called a liquidation, and a liquidation is when you repeat part of the motive a bunch of times. And then we have a cadence, and often the cadence is essentially a repetition of the motive again, and often it slows down at the end, which is something which is referred to as agogic emphasis. So, we want to build a rhythm pattern based on these structures. So, normally you could just use these as a template and you can plug stuff in. And often people will plug in pitch material and they will plug in rhythms. We are only interested today in the rhythm. So here's an example of a rhythm, or playing the note G, of a sentence. And we can see the first 2 bars, we state the motive, da 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 da. Then we repeat it again, da 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 da. Then we have the liquidation. We repeat part of the motive. I could have gone da 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 by just repeating the first 3 notes and filling up 2 bars. But I chose to go da 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 da, so which I'm repeating the second half of the motive twice. Then we have the cadence, which starts as a motive, and then I slow it down at the end by turning some of those quavers into crotchets. Let's build one of those in Sibelius. Okay, here is Sibelius. Let's use that same motive. I'll go into note mode, so it's da, 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 da. Okay, so I have my motive, and then what I can do, I can copy that and repeat it for the next 2 bars. And then I definitely want it to be at the end for my cadence, so I copy it there. I need to slow it down, so I make those crotchets. Now that's slowed down. So motive, repetition, liquidation haven't done yet, and then cadence, the motive again slowing down. I decided I would get this bar here and repeat it a couple of times. And that's my liquidation. So the whole thing sounds like... So I've built basically a little structure which is coherent. I could then map that to different pitches to create a melody. I could just do it. Make it in the Mixolydian mode. I want that to be a C. Okay, so I've just improvised along the rhythm, and it sounds like... So that sounds like a melody, and it's getting coherent because I've been building this rhythm structure in our motive and repeating it. So we can use that in lots of ways when we want to build melodic phrases that are coherent. I often use this when I'm improvising, and we can also use it with other formal processes.